about the next topic. Next topic is spread spectrum. For the spread spectrum, we can first let's talk that why spread spectrum is necessary, because most of the wireless communication uses the various bandwidth, various channels for the either we talk about the assignment techniques of the channel that it can be either fixed assignment or dynamic assignment. So for the wireless communication, it is necessary to utilize the particular band perfectly. Means if we waste any of the band, then it will degrade the system performance. So that's why the spread spectrum is necessary. Here for the spread spectrum, let's talk about various features of it. So it offers the capability of multiple access. We already discussed about the various multiple access techniques in week number 4 that user can either classify the various multiple access techniques into the frequency division term, or either in the code division term, or either in the time division form. So according to the purpose of user, means if user wants to convert it in terms of time slot, then he should go for time division multiple access. If we want for the frequency band division, then you should use the frequency division multiple access. If you want the particular coded data for single user, then you should go for the DN sequence coding, means PDMA technique. So by spread spectrum, the capability to access the multiple access is possible. Now, if many users share the same set of resources or same set of channels, then obviously it offers the higher channel capacity. If the channel capacity is higher, then obviously if any of the signal is get distorted, then it will be recover from that. So it offers the last immunity to distortion. So this is the three main feature for spread spectrum: capability to multiple access. Either you can go for the FDMA or TDMA or CDMA. Next is higher channel capacity, because many number of users share the same set of channel or same set of bandwidth. Obviously, if the capacity is increased, it offers the immunity to the distortion. So these are the features for the spread spectrum. Now let's talk about the various conditions that can be followed for spread spectrum. So first condition for it is modulated signal bandwidth is larger than the baseband signal. If you want to use the spread spectrum, then you should consider this criteria first, that the modulated signal bandwidth should larger than the baseband signal. Next one is pseudo-random code can be used, because if you use the multiple access technique of CDMA, means code division multiple access, then in that case narrow bandwidth signal is multiplexed with the large bandwidth signal, and then the code word is generated. Now this code word is called as pseudo-random code. So for the spread spectrum, it is necessary that this pseudo-random code should be used. The last is processing gain. Now processing gain is mainly considered for increasing the bandwidth of signal. So now for increasing the bandwidth of signal, if you want the equation for it, then it is given by the BSS divided by D, means bandwidth of spread spectrum divided by the channel bandwidth. D means the channel bandwidth, and DSS, subscript SS, denotes the spread spectrum. So the processing gain mainly gives the spread spectrum bandwidth divided by the total bandwidth. Now let's talk about the spread spectrum model, that which structure should be followed for it. So first block for spread spectrum is channel encoder. Channel encoding technique, for this we have already discussed for GSM, that it will be further classified into different classes. So here also you can use the different classes for according to the sensitivity of error. So first block for the spread spectrum model is channel encoding. Then after channel encoding, it is given to the modulator where CDMA is used. So you should consider the pseudo-random sequence for it, and after the pseudo-random sequence, one coding number is generated and it is further given to the channel. After channel, again this block will be repeated, means from modulator it will be given to the demodulator. After demodulator it will be given to the channel decoder. So here for the spread spectrum model, first is channel encoder, then modulator, then it will be channel demodulator and channel decoder. Here you should consider one thing, that in place of modulator and demodulator, you should use the PN sequence. Why PN sequence? Because spread spectrum offers the multiple axes, and for multiple axes of code division, multiple axes, you should generate one pseudo-random sequence, because one code should be generated and this code gives the encryption to the data. So that's why here the PN generator is there, and this PN generator will be given to the modulator. Okay, so same thing should happen over here also. Here again the demodulator and PN generator will be given to the demodulator. So this is the model that can be used for the spread spectrum. Next is classification of spread spectrum. There can be two techniques that can be used for spread spectrum. First technique that can be used is the DSSS, means direct sequence spread spectrum, and second technique is frequency hopping spread spectrum, FHSS and DSSS. So for the DSSS, it provides secure communication, jamming resistance and hiding of signal can be possible, because it can be generated by multiplexing the narrow bandwidth signal with the large bandwidth signal, and then PN sequence is generated. While in case of the frequency hopping, according to the rate of hopping, means if the hopping rate is less than the band signal, then it can be slow hopping, and if the bandwidth of signal is, if the hopping rate is larger than the bandwidth of signal, then it can be fast frequency hopping. In case of frequency hopping, we can say that the short acquisition time is there, while in case of the DSSS, it uses the larger amount of acquisition time. So this is the limitation for the direct sequence spread spectrum. Also in case of DSSS, because of the use of the multiple access technique CDMA, in case of CDMA we already discussed that there is the problem of near-far effect. Near-far effect will be generated because of the unequal or unbalance of power level. And because of that, here in the DSSS, you can see that there is also a problem of near-far effect that can occur in this. Now let's see the comparison for direct sequence spread spectrum and frequency hopping spread spectrum. So for the comparison for DSSS, here first point if you see, then in case of DSSS, you can note that PN sequence, in case of DSSS, PN sequence of large bandwidth is multiplexed with the narrow bandwidth signal. Means it is mixed with the large bandwidth signal, and then this code is generated. This code is called PN sequence. While if we talk about the FHSS system, then in case of FHSS, frequency hopping spread spectrum, data bits are transmitted in terms of frequency slots, while in case of DSSS, it is multiplexed with the narrow bandwidth signal. So here, if we talk about the distance effect of the direct sequence spread spectrum, then it is relative with the distance. The distance effect, the direct sequence spread spectrum, while in case of the frequency hopping spread spectrum, distance effect is less. If we talk about the acquisition time, then in case of DSSS, the long acquisition time is required, while in case of FHSS, the short acquisition time is less. Over complete bandwidth, the signal is spread in case of DSSS, while in case of the FHSS, the data bits are transmitted in terms of frequency slots, and that's why small frequency slot is spread in case of FHSS. Now, let's see about CDMA, because in case of CDMA, the code division multiple access IS95 means Interim Standard 95. This is the third generation standard, and for this third generation standard DSSS technique is used. So for the DSSS, the PN sequence are used, and in the PN sequences are classified into the three major categories. First one is the Walsh code. Walsh code has total 64 number of bits. Here it is divided into the two categories, uplink and downlink. So for the Morse code, if it is used for uplink, then it can be used for the modulation purpose, and if it can be used for the downlink, then it will be divided for the different number of users. Means if we use it from base station to mobile station, then many number of users can use this Morse code. If we talk about the long PN code, means long pseudo random sequence, so it has total 42 number of bits. If it is used for the coupling, means from mobile station to base station, then it can be used for identifying the mobile station from the complete service area. And if it can be used for the scrambling, then it can be used for the downlink purpose. It can be used from base station to mobile station or to the forward channel. The third type of PN sequence that can be used for code division multiple access is short PN sequence or short pseudo random code. It has total 16 number of bits. It can be used to identify the base station. For the downlink and for the uplink, the extra signal robustness will be provided. Means there is no system flexibility can be provided if you use the short pseudo random sequence. So according to the user requirement, you should either choose the Walsh code 64 or long PN sequence or short PN sequence. So in the next further session, we will discuss about the architecture of CDMA and about the number of channels used for it. For this session, if you have any doubts or queries, you can ask me on my email ID. Thank you for watching.